MVP.
Hits one in the air, left center field, back it goes! Harper, the swing of his life!
You never get ahead of yourself. As Merritt's swung down the field,
I know Rennies do every day. It's always been that way for me. Always been a get better mentality every day, grow every day, be a better leader every day, be a better quarterback every day. And when that wrench do, I don't plan on missing no payments. So.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to 3 in the Keystone, episode 110. I'm Adam Seltzer, flying solo for the time being. Expect Chris and Al to be joining shortly. Back to school for those guys, so you know it's a little bit difficult for them to get on that time schedule. They got to make that summer-fall adjustment, a lot going on in their lives. So they should be along shortly. But before they do, I just kind of want to give you guys an update in regards to scheduling for the podcast. As you know, now we are on Tuesdays. For the next couple of weeks, it's going to fluctuate a little bit. We have some differences in the schedule. Labor Day next week, obviously, on Monday, and fantasy football drafts, and the whole kit and caboodle. As here comes Chris on here now.
Thank God, nobody wants to hear you talk.
My wife is down here, which is a really awkward
Hey,
situation.
Megan.
Hi, Chris.
Yeah, we need her to be quiet because she's not part of the show, but she's not doing her part.
Rather hear her talk.
Yeah. But what I'm saying, Chris, is that for the next couple of weeks, they're going to have to follow us on social to know whether we're going Monday or Tuesday, and then eventually we will fall back into that Monday pattern in due time. So just stay with us for the next couple of weeks as we kind of fluctuate our days, but we'll get there in time. How was school today?
I'm exhausted. I've sat down a total of an hour and a half in the last 2 days between school, the girls, football after school, the whole thing. So, but it's good stuff. It's a good tired. It's all good things.
Back on that grind.
Back on the grind, yeah. So we're doing our thing, but glad to be here and looking forward to getting to it with you guys.
All right, well, let's get into it a little bit, Al or Chris. Phillies get back on track last week, so to speak. They win 4 out of 5 against the Marlins, 3 out of 4 against the Nationals. They sit at 73-51 going into tonight, currently down 2-1 to the Atlanta Braves in the 6th. 7-game lead going into this series, but only a 1-game lead on the Milwaukee Brewers for the bye in the National League. So I guess my question is, last week we were down. We were talking about the issues that come with this team. They rattle off 4 out of 5. How much better are you feeling now compared to when we spoke last week?
Not much better. I mean, but at the same time, I did say last week that I thought that the Phillies were a team that we can't sell all our stock in yet, but it is getting a little bit nerve-wracking and making us feel a little bit uneasy. At least that's how I felt. I still feel that way. I don't feel confident in them to necessarily be a juggernaut like we thought they were a few months back. A big reason for that is we'll be talking about that shortly, but no, I don't feel any different, to be honest with you. There's some things that are still concerning to me.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. I don't think I've changed my tune a lot. It was a giant sigh of relief last Wednesday when Schwarber hits that grand slam. It kind of felt like there was a giant monkey that came off of their backs. And then the bats came alive against Washington for a couple games. They win the walk-off on Friday night, which was nice. But again, beating up on some bottom-tier teams
That's nothing.
is not necessarily going to sell me. It was good to see some signs of life, but there are definitely still some holes in this team. Specifically, the bullpen's still struggling. The offensively, they came to life a little bit, but we're going to dive into also. We had some managerial issues on Sunday that I want to talk about. I want to wait till Al gets on for sure.
Seltzer, real quick before you go any further, I just want to say those games against these mediocre at best or poor teams, they're just life rafts. Like at this point in the season with our record, you're just trying to get those wins and get to the shore. at this point. Like you're just trying to stay afloat and get to the shore because it's another tough stretch that we got. And I think I counted, what is it, 2 series, maybe 3 that are like definitively like, oh yeah, we should win that series. The rest of the season is going to be tough. And dare I say, is this season going to come down to a Rhys Hoskins at bat?
Against the Brewers,
could you imagine?
Really good, especially when it comes to determining what playoff seed the Phillies are going to be, because the Milwaukee Brewers are playing great baseball. The Dodgers have found themselves; they're starting to get healthy. They just got Betts back. Obviously, Freeman got banged up the other night, but they're going to get Kershaw's finding his form again. Yamamoto is due back as soon, so they're finding their form. And I mentioned, Chris, the ERAs in the bullpen since the second half. We tweeted this out on Instagram. Jeff Hoffman 5.11, Matt Strahm 4.76, Orion Kirkring 6.55, Jose Alvarado 5.91. Those are all the ERAs in the second half, and they did nothing to address it at the trade deadline other than add
Banks,
Estevez, who's been okay, and the lefty from Chicago, who's whatever.
Yeah, I don't think he's that bad actually. I think he's all right, but you're right. I mean, it's not moves that are going to all of a sudden propel you into where you want to be.
Right.
Hector Neris is coming back.
Oh.
He's coming home.
That is a name. So Hector Neris was released by the Chicago Cubs today. By all indications, it's just that they didn't want his vesting option hitting for next year. He was closing for them for a while, but his numbers are suboptimal. But could he help this team?
You can't sign him. Like what a slap in the face that is to someone then who loses their spot potentially to Hector Neris.
Who cares if it's
but it's not really a clear upgrade.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point, is that he stinks.
But it could be an upgrade.
You're grasping at straws if you say
for sure. But I think grasping at straws might be what this team needs at this point.
Well, guys like Ruiz, who we didn't think would be anything, have actually been one of our best pitchers out of that pen. So like you can't take his spot now at this point.
There's a guy on the roster right now named Max Lazar.
Yeah, but I think that's a filler for what's his name? Oh my gosh, can't think of it right now. It's in my head, but yeah, I'm with Al. I'm not making that Neris move. I don't think that's going to be a game changer either. I've seen enough of Hector Neris, and so have you. We've seen that same split finger not work and go right in the dirt too many times.
Yeah, no, listen, I don't think he's the answer, but I wouldn't, if they brought him in, I wouldn't be like, oh, I hate the move. It would be
with the side cap.
Sure. But I want to talk a little bit about Sunday, because Sunday really got under my skin a little bit. So if you didn't watch the game on Sunday, Phillies are down by 2 going into the 9th inning. They get a leadoff single from Edmundo Sosa off Kyle Finnegan, who they had rallied against on Saturday night or Friday night.
Finnegan's every game, man.
And they have Cal Stevenson and Garrett Stubbs due up in the 8 and 9 spot. Bryce Harper and JT Realmuto sitting on the bench, getting a day off, quote unquote. And they just choose to let Stevenson and Stubbs hit, and the game is over. They could have easily gone Harper, JT, and then the top of the order, Schwarber, Turner, Bohm, Castellanos, and tried to put together a rally against a guy they got to the other night. And instead, our manager, Topper, decides to let these guys hit because he wanted to give those guys a full day off, despite the fact that they had Monday off anyway. And to me, here's what pisses me off the most about it. It is sending a message to the guys in that dugout that this game doesn't mean anything to us. We're okay losing this game. It doesn't bother us. The problem was this team played with that type of attitude for the past 6 weeks, and we're trying to change that at this point. And all he's doing is reinforcing the same type of attitude that has been the problem for this team for 6 weeks. And that's the issue with it. Is that he is just there. It's end of August. We shouldn't be just okay losing baseball games or not giving it our all because it's a day off, quote unquote. I don't even know what that means.
And not only that, I agree 100% with you, and that's what I was hitting at earlier when I said about the issues that I think we have that are going to put us possibly in trouble, and that's one of them is his managerial style, I guess you could say, where the inmates run the asylum or the prison a little bit. Probably a poor choice of words, but guys like Harper and Realmuto are available to pinch hit in that spot. And those are two dudes that are always gamers. Like, we can say what we want about both of those guys. They're always gamers. They're ready to play. They're ready to go. And I highly doubt that if he went to either of them and said, "Can you hit?" they'd have been like, "Nah, let me just finish the rest of the day out." I highly doubt that. I'd be shocked. So that's absolutely a managerial move because he's quote unquote protecting his guys or looking out for his guys. I told you earlier today, Seltzer, in our chat, our text chat. There's people. In a city like Philly, especially, it's hard to sell that when you have people that work and grind every day, and you ask a guy on a day off, sure, to take one at bat. You're not asking him to play the field. You're not asking him to catch a whole game. You're asking him to get in the batter's box and have one at bat, which could even be one pitch. Who knows? And that's too much to ask for from your superstar players. Not Harper, who obviously is a superstar, but I'm saying Real Muto, who I have my own feelings about. But come on, man. Like, that's corny. Like, they've got to be available in that spot. And I don't, no disrespect to Cal Stevenson, but bro, come on.
I
That's
don't
what we should be having up the bat.
I don't agree with anything that I'm about to say, but but hear me out. It's 2024. Like, it's a different day and age in professional sports. It's load management.
Oh, for sure.
You see guys in Major League Baseball. We see starting pitchers that have no hitters in the seventh inning of baseball games get pulled because they're on pitch counts. Like, it's just the way it is in professional sports. I don't think I'm 100% sold that was all on Thomson. I think that was an organizational decision made that, okay, JT and Bryce are completely shut down and they are not playing today. And it was probably told to them leading into that game that we're going to get, look, we've done the analytics, we've done the sports science, all that garbage. I shouldn't say it's not garbage, but we've done all of that work to look into it and say, we're going to give you guys this 48 hours of rest to get your bodies ready now potentially for this stretch of games against Atlanta, against Kansas City, and then against the Mets. I think they were probably told that morning or the night before, look, you're not playing this game. It just is what it is. And Rob was probably told that as well. And that's just the way it is today in sports. Now, when you look at the standings and you see how close it is at the top now in the NL, where the Phillies have no margin of error whatsoever as far as holding on to one of the top two spots for the playoffs and earning that bye, I think it's a mistake. You have to put your best bats up there in a situation like that because one game is literally going to be whether or not we get that bye.
Very good. Very well good.
So let me counter you with this, though. Where are these same sports science guys in April and May when Nick Castellanos is hitting 176, but he's still getting run out there every single day? He's played every game this season.
I know.
But now to their defense, he's probably our best hitter.
No, I'm not saying he hasn't been productive, but I'm just asking if Harper's been struggling, why is he get a day off, but Nick doesn't? And I understand JT, day game after night game, he's coming off knee surgery. I'm not arguing him not playing on Sunday. I'm arguing him not getting that bat. But if we're going to preach again about the load management stuff, I don't understand why this guy doesn't get any days off.
Two things. Probably is Harper has more of an injury history than Castellanos, right? And Harper's a bigger investment. If you have the beater car and then you have the brand new Tesla, you know what I mean? Like, you're taking care of that Tesla. You're sending that thing in for its tune-ups every 6 months. The beater, you're just riding that thing until the wheels fall off. And I think that's what they're doing with Casty.
Well, and I've given up on trying to figure out this Phillies team. Like, it's first of all, baseball is such a long season. It's 162 games of a basically nonstop grind. And the whole load management thing, I just despise it because, and I know people are like, well, it's sports and it's different. And I get that. I understand that. But still, you go to your job, you try to take a day off for every 2 or every 3. Tell your boss, oh, you know what? Every Wednesday, I got to be off, man. Those Monday and Tuesdays wake me out. I need to have off Wednesdays. Or every 3 days, I got to have a day off. Our own bodies don't like load management. What happens when you go to the gym consistently and you stop going? You fall off a cliff. Yeah. Like, our own bodies aren't built for load management.
The only counter argument to that is there are stretches in baseball where they play 17 days in a row. And if you're working a Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, There's no weekends in Major League Baseball.
No, and baseball is the one sport where I had no problem with a day off here and there, but it's August now, and we're in the last third of the season. And like you said, both of you guys have already addressed the fact that the season can come down to a game difference, whether it's for the bye or even for a division. We still play Atlanta and the Mets a good amount of time still. Who knows what can happen? I'm not saying that that's going to be we're going to lose the division. I don't know that, but you never know. So it could come down to that last series or that last game, and you're BSing with these opportunities that you don't want to capitalize on, and it's easily avoidable.
And the last thing about it is you finally felt like you had some momentum going, and you're going into a very big series against Atlanta. And again, I'm not saying Bryce Harper is the difference between a win and a loss on Sunday, but it certainly would have been nice to have 5 wins in a row coming into this series with Atlanta for sure, versus, again, now losing on Sunday, and now you're losing tonight, and all of a sudden you kind of feel like we're back to square one where we were last week a little bit.
And every time it's albeit very few opportunities and very few times, to his credit, but it feels like every time Harper has a day off, it bites us in the ass. Every time. It feels like there's never a game where Bryce didn't play and we won 11-2. Like it always comes down to an at-bat or a moment or an opponent or something where we always question, why is Harper not in the lineup? It just always seems like that to me.
Yeah. All right. So I want to move forward and look ahead a little bit. This week, they are on a 6-game road trip. We are at Atlanta, obviously for 3, which we've talked about. And then they go to Kansas City to play the Royals, who are a decent little team. So I want to get some record predictions, and I also want you guys to tell me on a 1 to 10 scale how big of a series you think this is with Atlanta. So let's start with you, Al. Give me a record for the week and tell me how big of a series you think this is versus the Braves.
So look, obviously right now we can see right now they're losing 2-1 right now to the Braves as we are recording this episode. I honestly thought they were going to lose this series against the Braves, and I think they're going to lose the series against the Royals. It didn't give me much faith to watch them beat up on the Marlins and the Nationals. Now, granted, they played very well. They looked like the Phillies of April and May and June in that 6-game stretch or whatever it might have been. But you're talking about two teams in the Braves and the Royals that are both contenders. The Royals play extremely well at home. Versus the road. Bobby Witt Jr. is hitting 400 at home.
Listen, Bobby Witt Jr. could, if it wasn't for Aaron Judge, he might be the MVP of the league.
Yeah, but we got to check to see if somebody's smacking trash cans in the hallways over there at Kansas City. What's it called now? That ballpark? It's not Kaufman anymore, is it?
No, but that's what it was. I don't know what it is now.
Yeah, but his splits are outrageous. His home road splits. But no, I have them dropping both those series. I think they're going to go 2-4, and I think that it's a monumentally important series, especially against the Braves. Because you can, blink, you get swept in this series, they're right back in it. The Mets are right back in it. You've breathed life into the rest of that division. This series against the Braves especially is a 10 out of 10 on the importance scale, in my opinion.
Ooh, 10 out of 10.
I got
10 out of 10.
I got 10 out of 10.
I can understand that. I can't go to 10, but I'll say a 7, just because there's still over a month to go in the season. Anything can happen. Injuries can happen, whatever, to the other teams as well. I think that they probably, I had them around between 2 and 4 or 1 and 5. I didn't feel this strong this week at all about these opponents. Personally, I think the Royals are a quietly really, really good team. And I think when you have games like tonight, when you got an ace on the mound for you and you don't win it, that's a dagger. That hurts. So I would say 2 and 4 for the rest of this week. But long term, I think that if they can get, and I can't believe I'm saying this because I thought we were going to win well over 100 games earlier this year. If they can get to 91 wins, I think that's my magic number for them to win this division is 91 wins. They can get there, but we'll see. But this week, I think I'm going to say a losing week this week.
All right. I have them at 3-3 this week, and I had it with a series win over the Braves. I thought they would win 2 out of 3. Obviously, I'm talking this going into tonight, so that looks.
And I would take that.
That looks a little bit tougher now than it would, assuming they lose. Again, there's still some ball game left.
Time, yeah.
And I do think they'll lose 2 out of 3 to Kansas City. I did also you guys talked about him a little bit. If you're a baseball fan, National League guy, watch Bobby Witt play this weekend. He is a top 5 player in the league right now, not only offensively, but defensively at shortstop. He's 24 years old, leads the majors in runs scored, leads it in hits, leads it in batting average, 25 homers, 25 steals, and plays maybe the best defensive shortstop in the game.
He's putting the Royals on his back. They're, like I said, they're really good. They're a contender. Why not?
They got a shot to make the playoffs. There's no doubt about it. Sure. And I think the series with the Braves is an 8 out of 10. I mean, listen, we're on the podcast talking about who the Phillies ended up turning the corner on, the Marlins and the Nationals. If you don't think the Phillies players know who the good teams and the bad teams are, they go out and lose this series or get swept in this series. Beating the Marlins and Nationals means nothing, and they know that. Yep. So they need to continue this momentum and win this series. I think against Atlanta, we're back to square one where we were last week in panic mode for this team.
They definitely need to win that series too because they're avoiding Chris Sale and Austin Riley just got hurt. Like right. Atlanta's doing everything to give us this division, and the Phillies just letting it hang like some fruit hanging off of the edge of a tree limb. Real quick, Bobby Witt. Second in the league in what stat?
Bob Bip.
Second to Bob Bip, only second to Aaron Judge.
That's a good stat. No, you're right, Alden. You think about the Braves, no Riley, no Acuna, no Albies, no Strider, no Sale for us this week. You can't ask for anything more at this point. So we will see. That's your Phillies update. I did want to touch a little bit on the Sixers. They make a minor move yesterday, signing your boy Al Girashan Yabusele.
My boy.
Breakout Olympics for France. If you watch the finals game, he is the guy who had the major dunk on LeBron. He was a first-round pick of the Celtics a few years ago. Didn't really pan out, went overseas, played in Spain. 6'8", 260, plays the power forward. How much impact do you think this move will have, and does it move the needle for you, Chris?
Well, I think that unlike previously when he was in the league in the I guess was it 18-19, I think was his last season, 2018-2019. He's definitely a lot better than he was when he left the league back then. I know last year he averaged close to 11-5 in the Euro League, I believe. So which is a tough league, and he's athletic. I think he's going to play. I think he's going to be an impactful guy. I'm not saying that he's going to be a guy we're going to rely upon, but I think that he is a guy who's going to log legitimate, significant minutes for this team this year. I do, and I think it's needed. I think we need that athleticism, and a guy that can fight for boards too.
I don't have a prediction as far as minutes that he's going to log. I look at this as it's the obvious low risk, high reward signing. I was ready to kind of just laugh at this, but then I dug a little bit deeper, and I'm getting a little bit more excited. So he's only 28 years old. He's still young. He doesn't have a whole ton of tread, on the knees. He scored 22, 17, and 20 in the Olympic Games against Canada, Germany, and the U.S. He shot nearly 67% from the field in those games. And then I looked a little bit deeper, he was out of the league pretty quick after getting drafted by the Celtics. He couldn't shoot. He learned how to shoot the three. So he's shooting like 40+% from three over in Europe. When he won, he was part of the team that won the EuroLeague title in 2023. He averaged almost 10 points. He shot 43% from three. His first couple of years as a professional, he shot in the 30s. So if this kid could maybe stretch the floor a little bit for us, provide some energy, provide some spark, some toughness, some rebounding, I really like the signing, and I really like being able to potentially see him partner up with Jared McCain on some TikToks as well.
I honestly forgot this dude. I didn't know what happened to this guy. I didn't hear of him or see him like everybody else hadn't since he left the league 5 years ago. But just looking at his stats for like Real Madrid, Al, your point, he shot 41% over the span of his 5 seasons in the EuroLeague. So from three. So he did learn to shoot, and he's fit in, he's molded and fit into his body now as a grown man. When he was in the league, all he had was an ass, pause. And I just remember him having the biggest caboose that he just was boxing dudes out just because he had this wide frame. And now he's thinned out but bulked up in the right spots. He's a strong looking guy. He can rebound for his size. He's bringing toughness for sure, and he can hit an open three for you. I think he's going to play for him.
Yeah, I think the one thing that'll really help is when I look at this roster, I see a lack of rebounding, and I think that he can help in that manner. I'm not sure if he's going to be a guy who plays every game during the course of the season. I think it's going to be Nick Nurse playing the hot hand, whether it's Council, whether it's KJ, or whether it's Yabu. And I think he will contribute when he plays. So I think you're going to see a little bit of you saw the amount of time KJ Martin got last year. I think it'll be similar to that.
And KJ Martin, for my money, he's here to be traded. Like, I don't think he's going to he might even play minutes for the purpose of getting traded. Like he's going to just try to get his stock up so they can get him out of here. If no money existed, I would have Yabusele definitely over KJ Martin on this depth chart for this team. I am a fan of Ricky Council. I think he's developed. I think he's earned a chance to get a rotation in a rotation in an NBA team. But I don't know if I would give Yabusele a chance over him at this point, but I definitely would put him in over KJ Martin. Yabusele was fun to watch in the Olympics. He was one of those guys. He was a fun dude to watch.
He was a blast. He got this contract because of that.
He dunked on your boy, Al.
Those Celtics teams he was on too. There was no room for him. Like they were already a set team. They were already a top seed in the East team when they had him. There was no room for him. And then the team he went to play for in Europe, Tony Parker owns that team. So you know what I mean? He might have gotten blessed with some knowledge these last 5 years while he's been trying to, get back over to the States.
I don't know if you remember him for when he was in Boston. He was also very, very out of shape when he was.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's my point. Is he's definitely gotten better shape, grown into his body. He looks the part now, and I think that if you look at his numbers with his rebounding tools, and you're like, dude, talking about him bored. He averages like 4 rebounds. Those boards are impactful boards when he's played, like especially in the Olympics when you've seen him play. He gets big, like he got those boards and did a lot of things offensively as well in big time clutch moments in that tournament, and that's shown me that he could be a big time player when it comes to the playoff time.
Yeah, he's
for
tough.
His team, and he's tough, absolutely. So I'm fine with it. I'm willing to give him a shot. 1 year deal is not going to hurt us. I guess that means we're out on the Bertans and Marcus Morris sweepstakes for now.
Fine by me.
So we'll see how it plays out.
All right. But speaking of tough, we're going to continue our NFL divisional previews. We got the NFC North, the Norris, as Chris Berman used to call it. All right, gentlemen. As usual, we will go backwards from the Vegas win totals from worst to first. And we are starting in Minnesota. The Minnesota Vikings over under 7.5 wins in Vegas. They were 7-10 last year. They were 6-4 at one point before the QB issues finally caught up to them with Kirk Cousins getting hurt. They've already lost their first round pick, JJ McCarthy, to the season with a meniscus injury. So Sam Darnold will be the quarterback this year. Let's start with you, Al. Where are you at on the Minnesota Vikings?
Poor Justin Jefferson, man. He's got no one. The QB situation is an absolute mess in Minnesota, and I thought it was a mess even before McCarthy went down. I do like everyone else. Like I like the skill position players. Addison. They added Aaron Jones in the offseason, TJ Hawkinson if he can stay healthy. But I just hate everything else about the offense. The offensive line isn't very good. The defense is not very good. They lose Donnell Hunter, who was kind of the focal point of that defense. I look at the schedule, guys. This team has a bye in week 6. They could be 0-5 at the bye. And then coming out of the bye, they can lose the next potentially 4 or 5 games out of the bye. I mean, this is a really hard schedule for a team that didn't finish well last year. The first time I went through the schedule, went game by game, I'm not gonna lie, I had them winning 3 games, and I said to myself, that's got to be bad. I must not be giving them enough credit. So I bumped that up. I'm gonna say they go 5-12, but I still have them well under the total of 7.5.
Chris?
Yeah, and also out of the games that you would think they should win, like the Giants,
road
Titans,
games,
they're all on the road. Exactly. Yeah. So I actually am locking this as my best bet. They're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna get close to 7.5. I had them around 4. I actually had straight cash on me. I I had them, especially after McCarthy got hurt. And he actually, and we've talked about him before, how we think he might be bust potential. And I still feel like that, but he was okay in those preseason action that he had. But yeah, I had them in like around 4 or 5 win range. I don't think, and that's I feel like that might be at best.
Yeah, I'm going to double up that best bet with you guys. That's I agree.
Like, what happens if they get the number 1 pick this year? Are they going to? I guess what are they going to build around McCarthy still and trade the pick, or do you trade McCarthy? Like I'm kind of here to see it, to be honest with you. I kind of want to see them get the number 1 pick just so I can like see what they decide to do with this situation.
It'll be interesting to see. You guys know I'm always bullish on the Vikings. I've pushed hard on them the last 2 years. I'm a huge Kevin O'Connell fan. I think he's a really, really good coach. But there's just too much going on with this team for them to be successful this year. Again, the quarterback issues. TJ Hawkinson's not due back until at least October after tearing his ACL last year. Defense, there's a lot of turnover on the defensive side of the ball where they struggled, especially in the secondary last year. I do still like some of their pieces. Jefferson's obviously stud. Jordan Addison's also really good. I also like the Aaron Jones pickup, although it may not be as impactful now that I think they're going to struggle the way they are. I also have them at 5-12, so I'm going under as well. It's a clean sweep.
You want to clean sweep that best bet?
No, I'm not going to keep my best bet.
No.
I got my best bet of the year coming up
Oh.
later, so stay tuned for that. All right, let's go to Chicago. Chicago 8.5 is the over/under. 7-10 last year. They won 4 of the last 6. Believe it or not, the number 1 defense in the NFL against the run last year. Caleb Williams is in at quarterback. I will start. He's the number 1 overall pick. They upgraded the wide receiver core, not only with DJ Moore last year, but adding Keenan Allen and Rome Aduze. How do you say his last name? Adunze. DeAndre Swift, guest boy, in at running back. Montez Sweat last year. I got a stat for you guys. Montez Sweat last year picked up in a midseason trade, the first player in NFL history to lead 2 teams in sacks in the same season.
Wow. Is that a Hall of Fame nugget for my man Montez?
Maybe. So the one issue with this team is they do lack a pass rush. Again, Sweat led the team in sacks with 6 last year. They didn't really do a ton to upgrade that, but they do have a really good secondary. They've got a really good run defense. The problem is the Bears just haven't had a quarterback ever. I guess maybe if you want to reach and say Jay Cutler, you can say that, but I'm not even ready to go there. Where I'm at with this team is this. I'm very, very bullish on Caleb Williams. I think he's going to be a really, really good NFL quarterback. I'm a little concerned with him trying to make a lot of plays early on. I think we've seen a little bit of that in the preseason and how that plays out against regular defenses. I think this team is going to be really good, but it may not be this year. I think 9 wins is a lot for them. I have them at 7-10. I have them underachieving in a tough division, but I think the future is bright for this team. Chris?
Man, yeah. So I agree. I think the future is bright for them. I love their rookies, their top 2 rookies, Williams and Adunze, big time. I mentioned you guys before. I think Rome Adunze can end up being a top 5 receiver in the league within 2 years. I think he's that good. He's got the perfect body for a position that you look for in a prototypical wide receiver this day and age, and a guy that can get the ball to him. But this year, it's a lot. I know, Al, you hate rookies. Al hates rookies.
Here we go.
And it's, especially in football, it's really hard to measure. And then especially at the most important position in football, how good that this kid can be this year. I'm going to give him benefit of the doubt and go with my gut because the team is trending in the upward direction before he got there. So I'm going to go with the over. I'm going to say I think they could win 9 or 10 games.
All right. So Chris has the over. Al, what do you got?
I just still think this team's at least a year away from putting it all together. I do like some of the additions they made. You guys didn't talk about the O-line. I'm not going to sit here and say I know much about the Chicago Bears O-line by any stretch, but from the research I did, it looks like they have some young tackles. They have some guards coming off some injuries that if everything comes together, it can be a much improved O-line, which I think will be the key to the success for that offense. I mean, you got to keep the rookie quarterback on his feet. So if they can do that, I actually think they can maybe steal some games here and there. They have a really brutal stretch of games to end the season, in my opinion. Division games, road games combined. So that it's Green Bay, Minnesota, and then a 3-game trip at Detroit, at San Fran, at Minnesota, and then Detroit, Seattle, and Green Bay to end the year. That's really tough, man, especially for a rookie quarterback that's never played 17 games in a season. I have them going under. I have them at 7-10 this season, but I wouldn't be surprised if they went over again and stole a couple games. I think it really does depend a lot on just if the O-line can block up front.
Yeah, I'm also not in love with the coach.
No.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think, Al, your point with the schedule, there's a world where they're like 6 or 7-2, and then they just fall off a cliff.
Yeah,
because not because that they got bad all of a sudden, but because their opponents just got that much better.
I hate looking at schedules this early because, I mean, you look, for instance, if you had the Houston Texans last year, you're like, oh, that's an easy win. And then all of a sudden the Houston Texans are really good. Or you get a team like Minnesota and you're like, oh, we have Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson. And then in the middle of the year, it's Jaron Hall and Justin Jefferson's hurt. So I just think it's hard to look at schedules this early in the year because you don't know what's going to happen.
For me, it's looking more at the division games and the road games, though. Like when I see 3 straight road games at the places that they have to go to, you know what I mean? And then end the season at Green Bay, like that's tough.
I mean, even that last one, you're talking about the stretch of the Lions, 49ers, and Vikings in November into December. And that Vikings game, even though the Vikings might not be good this year, it's still a 3rd straight road game in the NFL.
Yep.
And it's against a division opponent.
Right.
And it's a trap game because you go back home against the best team in the division, Detroit, the next week. So that game, I might have to put some heavy coin on that game.
Yes, that's a huge trap game, especially if they somehow pull it out at San Fran.
For sure.
Oh, bet the mortgage, bet the house on Minnesota the next week, dude.
That's a game we're gonna have to circle and monitor for the future. That might be one we put some heavy coin on.
All right, mark that one down.
Great cash, homie.
Log here, the Green Bay Packers over/unders 9.5. They were 9-8 last year after starting 2-5. They've made the playoffs 4 of 5 years under Matt LaFleur. They took out Dallas in the wild card round before dropping a close one to San Francisco in the divisional round. Let's start with you, Chris.
I like the Packers. I love Jordan Love. I am drinking the Kool-Aid there with that. I think he can play. I think he's going to be a really good player for them going forward for the future. And looking at, they're another team that to me is trending upward from last year with a quarterback who's trending upward. So I'm going to take the over on these guys. I have them right now. I have them at 11 wins.
So you have 11 wins for the Green Bay Packers. I'll go next. I really like Jordan Love. And I think that the most underrated offensive weapons in the NFL probably belong to this Green Bay Packers team. They have 4 really young receivers who I think can all play. Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks are all really, really good receivers that you may not have heard of. Add Luke Musgrave, who has been, I think is a really good tight end. They added Josh Jacobs. I'll tell you what, I mentioned earlier, I have my best bet for the year. I don't think there's a world where this team doesn't win double-digit games. I have the Green Bay Packers at 13-4. I think they win the NFC North, and I think Jordan Love sets himself up to be the next Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love. I think it's a trio. He got paid. He's going to come through. I love the coach. I love the offense. I like the defense. They've got some decent parts there. Kenny Clark is solid. They added Xavier McKinney, who I think is okay. They need Jair Alexander to bounce back a little bit, but they got the weapons there to be good enough defensively to help with this group. And I think the receivers are going to be really, really good for this team.
Yeah, I think that Love is going to probably be in the MVP conversation this year, and I love Edge Cooper. Edge Cooper, their second-round pick, the Texas A&M kid, the linebacker. He's a stud. I like him a lot. I think he's going to add. And the Packers always find good linebackers. They're like the Ravens. They always find good defensive players, good linebackers. The Xavier McKinney pickup was awesome for them too. Their schedule is not. I know we talked about the schedule thing a few minutes ago, but their schedule is not a scary schedule. A little bit. I think they could definitely, You might cash in on that best bet, Seltzer. I could see it. And that's after starting off 0-1.
Debatable. Debatable. We'll see. Al?
Here's another guy that I really like on Green Bay on the defensive side of the ball that you guys didn't mention.
Yeah, Kyle Van Noy, whatever.
Lucas Van Ness.
The same guy.
The prototype out of Iowa, big corn-fed boy out of Iowa.
Your little ham hocks.
For the first-round pick out of Iowa. Look, you guys said everything I was going to say. One thing I wanted to also note, Jordan Love got better as the season went on.
Yeah,
his second half, his last 8 games of the regular season, 18 touchdowns through the air, 2 on the ground, and only 1 interception. And that was without Christian Watson for 5 of those games. This team is trending upward. I also have them winning double digits. I have them 10-7, and that's like conservative. I would say that's more of a floor. I don't quite have them at 13 wins and winning multiple Super Bowls and putting Jordan Love's bust in Canton with the other beautiful busts that Seltzer has right now. But I'll put them down for 10 wins this season.
Well,
to be fair, neither Brett Favre nor Aaron Rodgers won multiple Super Bowls.
That's true.
That is true. There is a world, though, Al, where the Packers do struggle, and that's if Love gets hurt and your boy, old man Sean Clifford, comes in.
He's ready for action, guest.
Yeah, he's ready.
The KG vet. He played like 2 college careers, dude.
Hey, listen, if there's anything we know about Penn State quarterbacks, they'll beat the shitty teams that they have to beat, but anybody good, they're going to take it out.
Just run the ball.
He's ready to go.
Jacobs.
All right, let's go to the favorites in the NFC North, the Detroit Lions. 10.5 is the over-under. They finished 12-5 last year, and what everybody predicted the preseason was going to be a breakout year, and they were right. They lost the NFC Championship game to San Francisco, but did get their first playoff win since 1991. I'll start here. I mean, the offense is loaded with weapons all over the place. Jahmyr Gibbs, we talked about in the fantasy running back segment. We talked about Amon-Ra St. Brown. I had Sam Laporta, who's one of the best tight ends in the entire league. And we haven't even mentioned the fact that they probably have the best offensive line in all of football. Defensively, their run defense was elite last year. They were second in the NFL behind the Bears. They do have some questions in the secondary, but they brought in some new bodies there. Dan Campbell has this team fired up. I was looking for every reason to go under because the 10.5 just seems like a high number. But I really love this team, and I think they go 12-5 this year. I think they finished just behind the Packers in the division, but I got the over for the Detroit Lions again. Al?
I love this team this year. I'm really hyped for Detroit this year. You said a lot of it, Adam. They have one of the best offensive lines in football, if not the best. The secondary was their issue on defense last year, kind of cost them the NFC title game. So what they do, they go out and address the needs. They the first 2 picks in the draft, they go out and they do the same thing that the Eagles did. They get Terrion Arnold and they get Ennis Rakestraw, the other 2 really good cornerbacks that were coming out this season. Aiden Hutchinson's an absolute monster. 11.5 sacks last year. He's probably going to have more this year. The early bye week sucks, but they could definitely start the season 4-0 with the teams they play. LA Rams, Tampa Bay Bucks, at Arizona and Seattle. It's almost like they have 2 preseasons, to be honest, and then they get the bye, and then they actually start the season. I really, really like this team. I think they're going to go 12-5.
I have them at 12-5 also with the over. Their defense is, and Aaron Glenn is their coordinator. It still scares me. I think their offense is good enough to get through it in the regular season, but once the playoffs come around and they get and if they have to travel on the road for a divisional round or a championship round game, I think it's going to ultimately be their doom again this year. Obviously, they spent their first 2 picks on corners, high ranking corners, Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw from Missouri, Arnold from Alabama, and that'll help them. But I mean, they're rookies. We got to see how they look on that team and in a regular season and playoff situation in this level of football. So I think they're going to be a really good regular season team, and I have them at the over, but they still, I don't know. I mean, they almost gave up 400 points last year, and it's a lot. That's a lot of points, man. And defense doesn't tend to travel on the road in the playoffs. So.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the bugaboo again, specifically the pass defense, and we'll have to see if they can just find a way to improve it. But that offense is going to put up points.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
All right, so we all have the over on the Lions. We all have the over on the Packers. We all have the under on the Vikings, and we have a little split decision on the Bears.
You know what that means, listeners to the pod. Go under on the Lions, go under on the Packers, go over on the Vikings.
Fade everything we're saying, bro.
One with the Bears.
We were all over 500 last year. Let's not give
No, I
credit
know.
where credit is due here, guys.
But it's just like what you just said, though. The NFL, that's why the NFL is king, because every year something happens where everything happens. Like you don't know what's going to go down every year, and that's the beauty of it. So we're probably ultimately wasting our time with these, to be blunt.
But you know what? There was a listener who came to me and said, I love your previews because it gets me in football mode and it reminds me of all the stuff that happened in the offseason. So that's what we're really doing.
For sure, 100%. And it's fun. And if that's what it's about, right? Having fun and enjoying what we're seeing and we're watching. And that's what we do with the NFL.
Yeah, just a couple weeks away. So stay tuned as we wrap up with a couple of divisions to go. But Jens, we haven't played a game in a few weeks. So I thought it would be time to.
What is Megan? Does Megan have a best bet for this division?
She's up in bed now. She was here for a minute. Yeah, she's up in bed.
You think I have a pen and paper? You're wrong. So go ahead. Stall for the next minute.
All right, we're gonna stall.
I should get a point for that because I was prepared for class.
Yep. Preparation is key. So because of that, Chris, I'm going to give you the first pick in the game.
Okay.
So I'll go over the rules as soon as Al gets back here.
For
But
those
it's
that are
going to
listening,
be similar, if not. Have you ever played categories?
yeah, but I mean, it's not a strength of mine as far as like playing it often. So I don't know how. I still need a little bit of a refresher. On
I'll give you a refresher. So Al, have you played categories before?
Yeah.
Okay. So essentially what I'm going to do is I have 6 categories here, and they are the following. It's the 3 main sports that we talk about: baseball, basketball, football. And then I also have music, movies, and wrestling. Those are the 6 categories. And within those categories, I'm going to ask a question, something like this. This is obviously not what I'm saying. For baseball, I could say, name the teams in Major League Baseball, at which point I'm going to give you 45 seconds to write down as many as you can. However, Chris, if you write down the Phillies and Al writes down the Phillies, there's no point for that. You have to have a unique answer. You cannot have an answer that Al has. Does that make sense? You look confused.
You just write down as many answers as you can.
Write down as many answers as you can, but any duplicate answers that Al also writes will not count. So essentially you want to have unique answers is the way you need to score points.
But if you're in, that was just an example then, because you can't at that point you can't ask that question because there's no.
Correct. I'm not. They're going to be more specific questions. That was just an example.
Okay. That's
okay. All right. So Al, because you didn't have the pen, I said that I was going to allow Chris to pick the first category. So again, basketball, baseball, football, music, movies, and wrestling.
Do it, guest. Come on. You know what the people want. Give the people what they want.
The people want some wrestling.
All right, we're going to start with wrestling here. Okay. So again, you're going to write down as many answers as you can, and duplicate answers will not count. So what I am looking for is unique winners of the Royal Rumble from 1995 to 2010, that time frame. And I will give you guys 45 seconds, and we're going to start now.
All right.
So again, I'm looking for unique winners. So if anybody won multiple times, you're only going to get 1 point for naming those. So again, we're looking for Royal Rumble winners, the guys who ended up going on to WrestleMania to face the champion.
What was the year?
95 to 2010 is the era we're looking. So and there are 12 unique winners. That's how many there are total. So there are some obvious names as you go through this, and there are also some not obvious names. So we're going to go through. We have 10 seconds left on the clock as we tick down. We have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop. Drop your pens. And what we'll do is we'll start here with Al. Name one at a time, and then Chris will also say if he has that guy so we can tally it as a point. So hit us with your first name on your list.
All right, I got HBK.
You have Shawn Michaels? Chris has Shawn Michaels on his list. That does not count.
Cross it off. All right, I got Cena.
Cena is correct. Guess you have Cena? Okay, that's a point for Al.
I got The Undertaker.
Undertaker's correct. Chris, do you have him? You have him. Okay, that's no point there.
Triple H.
Triple H is correct. Chris, you have it. Okay, so no point.
I have Rey Mysterio.
Rey Mysterio is correct. Chris, do you have that?
No, I thought that was after 2010.
No, that was not. I think it was 06, actually.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, you got me on that one. Yeah.
2 points there for Al.
That's a good pull.
I have the Animal Batista.
Batista's not in that time frame, so that's incorrect. No penalties for incorrect answers.
I got Austin.
Austin's correct. Chris, you have Austin. Chris has Austin.
I don't know if he did, but I got The Rock.
The Rock did win, but Chris, you have that as well. All right, so still only 2 points.
All right, I think this is not in the time frame. I got Bret Hart.
Bret Hart's incorrect. That was 94.
I thought so. Him and Lex. And then I got Mr. McMahon.
Mr. McMahon's correct. Chris, you have that as well?
Yeah.
All right, so Al, just 2 points. Chris, do you have any other names that Al did not name?
Kane.
Kane did not win the Rumble.
Okay. Yeah, it's Stone Cold, Vince, Shawn Michaels, Rock, Undertaker, Kane, Triple H.
Okay, so no points for Chris. He has no unique answers. Al gets 2. Some names that you missed.
So wait, let me real quick. Did Del Rio win it?
No, that's afterwards.
He did, but it was way later. Yeah.
I know.
So there are 1, 2, 3, 4 names that you guys missed.
Jericho, Angle.
Nope. Chris, I did believe you were at one of these Rumbles.
Yeah, the family murderer.
Oh, yeah, Benoit. And did Eddie Guerrero win one?
No, Benoit. Eddie did not win one. Chris Benoit won. You guys missed Brock Lesnar. He won one.
Oh, yeah, when he came out, yeah.
And then the 09 and 2010 were Randy Orton and Edge, both won.
I was thinking about Edge. I'm on a big wrestling binge right now, especially at night before I go to bed. I've been watching all these the 90s pay-per-views in order.
Where are you at?
Right now, I'm on Survivor Series 90. I'm sorry, SummerSlam 95.
That's a bad one.
Yeah, it's I think
Mabel and Diesel, I think, isn't it?
Diesel, wasn't it?
Yeah. Are you fast forwarding any of it, or are you watching it all?
Yeah. No, I'm fast forwarding like Jobber, like the Ludwig Borga matches. Going through those.
Well, I'm gonna tell you guys, right before I came down here, I had on NXT and I was watching it with Jackson. And there was, I don't know who these women were. It was like a women's gauntlet match kind of deal. And the woman that won had a huge wagon, and her finishing move was just she ran into the girl with her ass. So that was
if it works,
yeah, whatever it takes. All right, so wrestling is done. Al, we're going to go to you now for picking the category.
Let's go music. We'll stay out of sports for now.
Okay, music. There are 19 potential answers here. I want Mariah Carey singles that hit the number 1 in the U.S. at any point in her career. Okay, so we are going to start the clock now. So Mariah Carey, one of the original, maybe the original divas, I would say, but obviously one of the most popular singers in the 90s into the early 2000s, had 19 singles that hit number 1 in the top of the charts in the U.S. And this is as the lead artist. It cannot be a song featuring her. It's her as the lead artist.
That one's arguably the biggest single of all time.
Well, write it down. If you're not sure,
according to your rule, it wouldn't count. So
okay, well, we'll see. I'm just going by what Wikipedia says. So we got 10 seconds left on the clock.
See, that threw me off.
It's hard to think of, and I know you're talking because you have to talk for the listeners. Yeah. It's hard to think of it.
I'll be a little bit more quiet. I'll give you guys 5 more seconds.
You got to do it. I get it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, drop your pens.
Yes,
we're gonna let Chris rattle off his list here to start. So, Chris, give me some singles here.
The irony in this is last week Sarah put on Alexa and had Mariah Carey singles, and I listened to them for 2 days. And my mind it's whatever. Fantasy.
I got fantasy.
All right, so fantasy is correct, but you guys both have it.
I'm gonna hit you with old school Vision of Love.
Vision of Love was her first.
I don't have
it. Hit number 1, so that's a point for Chris.
I'm gonna hit you with my favorite Mariah Carey record, My All.
My All is not a number 1. Did not hit number 1.
Always Be My Baby.
Always Be My Baby is on there. Al, do you have that?
Of that, yeah.
Okay.
And then I just got scrambled.
Whoa. Oh, I'm gonna point up here.
Yeah.
All right, Seltzer. I got, and I'm gonna do these in order of release. I got Hero.
Hero is on there.
Mm-hmm.
A big Jen Psy song, if I remember correctly. I have Honey.
Honey is on the list, correct?
Yeah, I like I said, I just want.
Yes, huge fumble here. All I want.
Oh, well, dude, it's like I said, it's been a long day. You got me on that.
On the spot's hard.
All I want for Christmas is you.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's a big fumble.
And then a sleeper here later in the not later in the I guess later in the Heartbreaker featuring Jay-Z.
Heartbreaker's on the list.
That's all I got.
Okay. I'll rattle off all 19 quickly. Vision of Love. Love Takes Time. I never heard of that one.
Love Takes Time is going.
Someday. I Don't Want to Cry.
That's
Emotions. I'll Be There. Dream Lover.
Hits.
Hero.
Hits.
All I Want for Christmas Is You. Fantasy. One Sweet Day. I think that's the one you were talking about.
That's the one now. See now, but that goes against the rule you said.
By the Wikipedia page, it says it's her single.
Yeah, but you know we lived through it. What do you mean?
Yeah, I had that in my head. I didn't write it down.
Yeah. Listen, I'm playing by the rules of what I.
Yes, we both would have had it. I promise you.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Always Be My Baby, Honey, My All.
Well, I said My All.
You did say My All, Chris. I'm sorry, I missed that. So I'll give you that. That's 2 points. I missed that one. Heartbreaker, Thank God I Found You, and then a couple more recent ones. We Belong Together, Don't Forget About Us, and Touch My Body.
I forgot about that one.
Those are the 19 Mariah Carey.
Mariah's got bangers, man.
All right, Chris. There's 4 left. The 3
Repeat 'em
sports
again?
categories and movies. What do you want to go with here?
What say them again? Movies
Baseball,
and-
basketball, football, movies.
Let's do baseball. Get that out.
Okay. Baseball. I have 14 potential answers on the board. Players with 500 career home runs who played at least one game in from the 1990s on till now. So 500 homers, played at least one game from 1990 until now. I will start the clock now. 500 homers, obviously a huge number, pretty much an automatic Hall of Fame bid as long as you're not a steroid head. So again, there's 14 guys who have hit 500 homers from 1990 until the present day. We're going to see how many Chris and Al can name. No Philadelphia Phillies on the list. Is the only Philadelphia Philly to hit 500 home runs, at least play their career with Philadelphia, is Mr. Michael Jack Schmidt. So nobody else who at least will go in the Hall of Fame as a Philadelphia Philly is on the list. We have 10 seconds left. We will count them down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So the score is Al with 6 and Chris with 2. And Al's going to be the one to give his list to start.
All right. I got Bonds.
Bonds is correct, Chris.
Yeah.
Chris has Bonds.
I got this guy, Ken Griffey.
Griffey is correct.
You know, I got it.
Chris has correct. Griffey?
I got A-Rod.
A-Rod, yes. Chris?
I forgot about A-Rod.
Okay. A-Rod is a point.
Yeah.
I got Pujols.
Pujols.
I got.
Chris has that.
I got Jin Tomey.
Chris has that as well.
Damn. And then these are a few I'm not sure of. I got Frank Thomas.
Frank Thomas is
Thomas.
correct. You have that, Chris?
Got Thomas, yeah.
Okay.
I got Mark McGuire.
McGuire, yep.
Chris, you have that?
Yep.
Okay.
I got Sam and Sammy Sosa.
Chris does not have Sosa. That's a point for Al.
And the last one, this is a recent addition, Jake Berger.
Berger may have 500 career homers against the Phillies, but he does not have it. He has not made the list.
All right, I'm out. I'm out on
All
Berger.
right.
I had a couple reaches that did Manny Ramirez?
Manny Ramirez is correct.
Albert Bell?
Albert Bell is not correct.
Ralphie Palmeiro?
Ralph Palmeiro is correct.
Wow.
And that's all I got.
Okay, so the score now is 8-4, as you guys both get a couple points there. Some names that you guys
Did Ripken get in there?
no, Ripken did not. Some names that you guys forgot: Big Papi, David Ortiz, Miguel Cabrera,
I thought I did.
and the other two, which were kind of sleepers and tougher names. Gary Sheffield did it, as well as Eddie Murray.
Instead of just writing Cabrera down, like because he could have been a potential thing, I instead wrote down Jake Berger.
I literally wrote Cabrera and erased him. So he played in the 90s?
Miguel Cabrera.
Yeah.
Eddie Murray. You said.
Huh?
You said who'd you say?
Miguel Cabrera. He played. You said he had to play in the 90s at one
90s
point.
on.
90s on.
Oh, I misunderstood. Okay. I thought you meant he.
Yeah, that's why. Like you had Poole. You said you had Pools.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah,
right. I messed that up.
You have as
Right.
Dribble
So what's the score?
Cabrera? As Dribble Cabrera?
What's
Melky?
the guy, I was gonna say Melky Cabrera, yeah. He was always on the hot stove. There's somebody always wanted Melky Cabrera.
It's true.
I never did.
8-4 is the score with 3 categories left. So Al, we'll let you make the choice here.
Let's go to movies because I think Guess might have me here. So I want to know how much I need to pick up on the last 2.
I will tell you right now, this is the hardest category. There's only 7 answers. And I will clarify before we start. I'm looking for best picture winners since 1985 on that begin with a vowel.
Oh, jeez.
Now listen, if the movie starts with the word I or the word A, that counts. If the movie starts with the astronaut, that counts as a T. It's the first letter no matter what. So everything counts. You guys with me there?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so there are 7 total. So we're looking for the 7 best pictures that begin with a vowel since 1985. The clock begins now. So Chris is a big movie buff. This is going to test his knowledge for sure. As you know, there's plenty of movies out there that are going to come right to mind. His favorite being Titanic, that he's not going to be able to use in this situation.
No.
I think if anybody gets 3 points in this round, that's a huge get. Because it's definitely the most difficult category on the board. We got 15 seconds left. I see Chris is squinting his eyes.
It's too late in the day, man. I can't think. I got a couple, but it's not.
I think a couple may be worth it in this category. So we are down to 3, 2, 1. Drop your pens. We will start with Chris.
A Beautiful Mind.
A Beautiful Mind is correct. Al, did you have that?
Nope.
Okay, that's a point for Chris.
The bust out was Amore.
That did not win Best Picture. It was not in the time frame.
Okay, I thought that it was. It might be. Whatever. And you said if it starts with a vowel but the before it doesn't count. You said
Correct.
Yeah, that's all I could come up with.
Okay, A Beautiful Mind is the only one you guys. Al, do you have any?
3 shots here. Inception.
Not correct.
I didn't win. No.
A Few Good Men.
Incorrect. Good try.
Oh brother, where art thou?
Incorrect as well. So
Bust out. Dude, those are good offers at it though, man.
That's all I got.
So
I think 2 of those 3 were nominated.
I will give you the Chris. Anything else come to mind before I give you the answers here?
I was thinking of because
I'll drop you a major hint. There was one last year.
Oh, Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer won last year for sure. 1985, the first winner was Out of Africa.
Yes.
Unforgiven. American Beauty in the late 90s. Chris, you said A Beautiful Mind. Argo, also in the 2000s. And then the more recent ones, Oppenheimer, we mentioned, but also Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Yep, that was 2 years ago.
That actually is 5 words, all beginning with vowels. All right.
We went there and just cleaned it out.
So we got 2 categories left. The score is 8-5. So,
right.
Chris, you're still in it. We have basketball and football left. It looks like it's Chris's pick here. Where do you want to go?
I'm still kicking myself for that movie round. Let's just do basketball.
Okay. I only have 7 answers for basketball. Not as difficult of a question, but I'm looking for the 7 players who have won NBA MVP who are classified as non-Americans. So as in they were not born in America. So I will start the clock now. Again, only 7 answers on the board here. As you know, we've seen the influx with the Olympics, and that's kind of where the genesis of this question has come from with the globalization of the game. Who are the 7 non-Americans who have won NBA MVP?
You said meaning that they were not born in America.
Correct. They're classified as non-Americans, again, on Wikipedia as the 7 non-Americans to win NBA MVP. So we have 15 seconds remaining. Will be interesting to see. Almost all of these guys are recent players, or at least in our lifetime, so we're not dating ourselves back too far. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Drop your pens. And we're going to start with Al here with the 8-5 lead. Can he put it away before we go to football?
I got 5 names here, guest.
I got 6, brother.
Obviously, Jokic,
Chris has Jokic as well. That's correct.
Giannis.
Giannis is correct, Chris.
I forgot Giannis.
Okay.
Ooh, let's go.
So that's 9.
Embiid,
Embiid's correct.
Nash,
Nash is correct. Chris has that.
and Hakeem.
Hakeem is correct. Chris, you have that?
Yeah. So there's 2 others. First of all, Luka didn't win MVP yet, did he?
No.
That's what I thought. No, did you say Dirk?
Did not say Dirk. Dirk is correct.
You said Nash, right?
Yep.
How about Patrick Ewing?
No MVPs.
Okay, because he was born in Jamaica.
Correct.
All
So that's all you had?
Dirk, Nash, Jokic, Embiid, Ewing, Olajuwon, Luka. Yeah.
Okay.
I couldn't remember if Luka had one or not.
The only name you guys missed, and it's a little bit asterisk, but it's still classified a U.S. Virgin Island, Mr. Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
Is the only name that you guys missed there. So we're going to the final round. You each got a point in that round. It's 9-6. We're going to need Chris is going to need 3 points here to catch up. It's a big ask, but it is doable with football.
Herfield Valley Middle School players.
Listen, we got 14 possible answers on the board here. And it's a very simple question. I want the 14 players with 1,000 or more receptions in NFL history. So 1,000 or more receptions in NFL history. I will start the clock now. A pretty historic number in NFL lore. 1,000 receptions. If you want to break it down, think about it, 10 seasons with 100-plus catches. Some of the great receivers of our generation. But again, anybody with 1,000 receptions is what we're looking for here. Some really, really good names as you would imagine from some various teams throughout the league. We have 15 seconds to go. Chris is going to have to rattle off some names here. Down 3. We'll see what he's got. So we are down to 5 seconds left. Put your pens down in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pens down. Let's start with Al, and then we'll work our way to Chris to see if he can catch up here at the end.
Oh boy, oh boy. All right. Jerry Rice.
Jerry Rice is correct, Chris. Chris has Jerry Rice.
Randy Moss.
Randy Moss is not correct. He does not have 1,000
I
catches.
wasn't sure either, actually.
Yeah, I was on the fence. I had him written down, though.
Okay. T.O.
T.O. is correct, Chris.
You my board, bro?
Do you have T.O.?
You get the same order so far, yeah.
Marvin Harrison.
Marvin Harrison's correct. Chris?
Harrison I had.
All right. Now I'm not sure about any of these guys. I got Chad Ocho.
Does not have 1,000 catches.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I got Megatron.
Does not have 1,000
I think
catches.
so. I got Reggie Wayne.
Reggie Wayne does have 1,000 catches. Chris, you have him? Okay, so that's point 10 for Al.
All right. I have Randall Cobb.
Randall Cobb. You should lose a point for Randall Cobb.
I think I'm thinking of someone else, actually, but I can't think of the Green Bay receiver. Ed McCaffrey.
No Ed McCaffrey.
It's a good.
All right. I have Rod Smith.
No Rod Smith.
All right. I had Isaac Bruce.
Isaac Bruce is correct.
And I had Torrey Holt.
Torrey Holt is not correct.
Okay. And then I have Michael Irvin.
Michael Irvin is not correct. So we got 2 points there for Al. He's up to 9. It's 9-6. Chris, there's room. There's room in there, Chris.
I think Al got 10.
Yeah, 10.
11. I'm sorry, 11-6.
11.
Oh,
11.
see, I thought how you go from 9 to 11?
I'm sorry.
I do. I'm counting them. I got 11.
Yeah, he got Reggie Wayne and Isaac Bruce.
No, I'm just busting Seltzer's balls.
Yeah, my bad. It's late, Chris. You know, it's long.
I know. Hey, look, I get it. All right. So I had Rice, Moss, T.O. Did you say Tim Brown?
He did not say Tim Brown. That is correct.
How about that Jimmy Smith?
No Jimmy Smith.
Chris Carter.
Chris Carter's correct. More catches than Randy Moss.
I wasn't going to put his name on there.
I had Chad Johnson. How about Lance Allworth?
No Lance Allworth.
I had Irvin. I had Harrison. How about that Andre Johnson?
Andre Johnson's correct. So we're down 11-9. Do you have 2 more names on your list?
Yeah, Al, you got it.
One route you guys did not go was I did not say receivers. I just said 100 catches.
Ah.
1,000 yards. There are 2 tight ends on the list, Mr. Tony Gonzalez and Jason Witten are both on the list. Right. You missed a guy with the second most catches in NFL history, over 1,400, Mr. Larry Fitzgerald.
Is Steve Smith on there?
Steve Smith is on here.
Is Steve Largent on there?
He's not. So the full list is Jerry Rice. This is in order. Jerry Rice, Larry Fitzgerald, Tony Gonzalez, Jason Witten, Marvin Harrison, Chris Carter, Tim Brown, Terrell Owens, Anquan Bolden is a name that nobody mentioned. Wow. Reggie Wayne, Andre Johnson, Steve Smith, Isaac Bruce, and last but not least, with exactly 1,000 catches, Hines Ward.
Who's the Green Bay receiver that got all those balls?
Donald Driver?
Probably Donald Driver might be what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, Driver, Sterling Sharp.
Yeah. Antonio Freeman, former Eagle.
No,
Antonio Freeman. Yeah.
Yeah. Mark Chimura. Was he a child porn? Was he? What
he had a 17-year-old in a hot tub.
Yeah. It's close enough to child porn.
God.
Yeah, it's actually a little worse.
I capped off the first game of categories. You guys like that? I thought it was a
fun
little twist.
I'm just still pissed at the movie one. I would have got that if it was
a hard question.
I would have got that.
What'd you say?
If it was 2 PM, I would have probably got it. My brain was fresher. But it was a good one. That's a good question.
If you would have, you got one though, right? On that one, you got like 3 in 45 seconds, that would be incredibly impressive.
I'm trying to remember. I could have sworn it was Amore or Amari or something like that was nominated like within the last 10 years, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
All right, well, that was it for this week. Again, stay tuned. Our social media will announce, what days we're podcasting, as their schedules are a little tough with the holiday coming up in the next few weeks. But until then, let's drop that beat.